What's going on, beautiful people? I'm Jerry Travis Smith, and in this video I'm going to show you how to install Windows 11 Pro on some older hardware, and we're going to bypass the TPM 2.0 requirements, the SecureBoot requirements, the RAM requirements, and the CPU requirements within reason. Additionally, once we get Windows installed, you won't need to sign in with a Microsoft account. I've made other videos on this channel where I show the same thing, but this video is going to take all the newest tricks that I've learned and put them together for the most up-to-date Windows 11 install as of July 15th, 2025. So if you're interested, keep watching and you'll have Windows 11 installed in no time on older hardware. So the system we'll be installing Windows 11 on today is made up of a bunch of old hardware that I had laying around, and I thought it would be fun to assemble it into a fully working system. So we'll start out with the CPU. It's a G4560. It is a socket 1151 CPU that came out right around 2015, I think. So we're talking 10 years old. And the motherboard that this CPU was sitting in is an Asus Z170A, which was a really nice board in its day, but it doesn't have TPM 2.0. I did have to go purchase a new cooler, and I went with this Thermalright Assassin X120 Refined SE. It was about $25, I think. I'll repurpose this at some point, but for now it's going to cool our little G4560. So I first installed the brackets for the Thermalright cooler, and then you can see that I actually have the heat pipes and tower installed. I did end up flipping this around so that it is going to be parallel to the RAM slots. I wasn't paying attention when I did this. Here I've got the motherboard in the case. This is a cheap Thermaltake that I think I paid 30 bucks for. There's the cooling fan on this big Assassin. This RAM is pretty special to me. It's kind of weird to say that RAM is special, but this RAM survived the flood of 2022 that took out the school I work at, and it came out of my teacher workstation that lived somewhere underneath here, covered in all this sludge and garbage. And this is just for a frame of reference how high the water got. This was a student workstation. My teacher workstation was just like this. That RAM actually survived the flood. I soaked it in isopropyl alcohol and tested it, and it worked. This stick right here in this test build did not work. Apparently I didn't get it clean enough, so I had to replace this stick with the third stick I rescued from my teacher workstation that did work. And I had no problems with the system. I would never recommend using flood RAM in a mission critical system, but I just wanted to use this for nostalgia. Hopefully we'll be in our new school that should be opening this fall 2025 at some point, but we're going to start the year in our temporary place we've been at for 3 years. The power supply in here is a Thermaltake Smart 500 watt. That does not have the best reputation in the world, but I don't think this had a lot of hours on it. I think I got it really cheap on Prime Day several years back. I just decided to throw it in here and it worked fine. Here's the SSD we're going to use. This was also a Prime Day purchase several years ago. I used it in my Atmos Ninja 5 recorder until I got a much bigger drive. This is a perfect spare for this build. And this is the final shot of everything installed, except I have not flipped the cooler around. I didn't get a picture of that, but I assure you I flipped it around so it's parallel with this RAM. So now that we've talked about the test bench, let's get on with what we need to do to get Windows 11 on it. Alright, the first thing we need to do before we can install Windows 11 is put our flash drive in the machine we want to make the installation media in. And this is drive G, so make sure that you stick with whatever the drive letter is of the flash drive you want to use. This actually is a Windows 11 installation media that I have made previously. Who knows what version or how long ago. I just kind of grabbed these things. But we're going to click in here in Google and just type in download Windows 11. And this very first link, download Windows 11. All right, now the installation assistant is for if I wanted to upgrade from 10 to 11 on a machine that already had 10 on it. But we're going to do create Windows installation media. So let's do download now. And it's called the media creation tool. I'll just hit save. It's going to put it in downloads. It's not a very big program, so I'll just click it. We have to give it administrative permissions. And if you've seen me do this once, you've seen me do it 1,000 times. This is for people that may not have seen any of my videos as to how to get around Windows 11's installation requirements on older hardware. So we accept. You don't have to change any of this unless you want a different language, but I am in the United States and speak English. So we'll do next. We want to do it on a USB flash drive. And here it is, drive G, and we'll do next. And this part is all dependent upon the speed of your internet connection and your installation media. In my case, this flash drive. So I'll be back when it's done downloading and putting it on the flash drive. All right, so you can see that it's done, so I'm just going to hit finish. I'm not entirely sure how long that took. I actually was trying to help set a karaoke machine up. So let's eject it, and I'll see you back over to the old computer. So, for you guys, it's been a matter of seconds, but I had the awfulest time ever was because I thought the machine put together from all the old used parts was bad. But that's not it at all. It was this stupid thing. Okay? One of those Walmart on flash drives. So, I mean, I've used a lot of these because they don't cost much. But it was actually bad. And the machine just was acting very strange because of it. So, I redid the Windows installation media with my old friend, the NVMe enclosure. Plug this in to the USB port and fire the old gal up. And this machine is still kind of slow simply because the processor is not the greatest, but at least it will boot into the Windows 11 installation the way it's supposed to. I did reinstall the CPU cooler and turn it so that it is parallel with the RAM because I realized that that was wrong when I was putting this together, but I was too lazy to flip it around. Then I thought, well, maybe that's causing some issue because I'm having to use memory channel 2 instead of memory channel 1 with this RAM, but that had nothing to do with it. Now, because this machine has an SSD in it that does not have an operating system, since this is bootable, it automatically booted into this. Otherwise, you're going to have to boot into your BIOS and pick the proper boot device. So usually that's F1, F2, or delete, sometimes F12. Depends on the manufacturer, and even the specific model of motherboard from the same manufacturer may have different hotkeys to get into the BIOS. But you can see from this flash in here, I don't know if the camera is picking that up, but it is booting into the Windows setup. It's loading from here into RAM. And since this machine is slower, this is a lot slower than the other installs on the 6700K test bench that I've been using for this series of ways to install Windows 11. Eventually we will get the spinny circle showing that it is going to start the install routines, and once it gets loaded into RAM, it's not really that slow. Okay, the flashing on the NVMe enclosure stopped. Now we've got the spinny. Okay, we don't even have to do anything here. We're going to do Shift F10 because we need to bypass the TPM requirements. And I'm going to show you the other bypasses that we can do, even though the TPM requirement is really the only one that I need in with this hardware. So make sure to click so that you are in the command prompt, and I'm going to type regedit, and we need to go make ourselves a new key. So I'm going to go to H key local machine, system, go down to setup, and inside of setup we're going to right click, go to new, we're going to make a key, call it LabConfig, just like that, capital L, capital C, no spaces, LabConfig. And now we can start adding these bypass keys that exist. So I'll just right click, new, and we're going to do DWORD value 32-bit, BypassTPMCheck. Set the value to 1. And if you're using the mouse, you just double click on it, then set the value to 1 with the keyboard, click OK. Right click, new, DWORD value, we're going to say BypassCPUCheck. Okay, which is something we do not have to do with this hardware, but I'm just showing you that it exists. Editor Trav here, and I messed up when I made the registry value BypassUEFICheck. This is not correct and won't do anything. To actually get around SecureBoot is BypassSecureBootCheck and set it to 1. Going to add one more here, BypassRAMCheck. But this is the 4 bypasses that most people seem to need. Editor Trav again. Here's a summary of all the values you need to add to the LabConfig registry key. I'm also going to put these as text in the video description. Now, this CPU check here is not a magic bullet. If you have an Intel CPU older than November 2008, there is no way to install this current version of Windows and it work. You can get through the installation routine, but then when it reboots, it's missing the SSE 4.2 instructions that were introduced in November 2008. So you're going to get a flash-in cursor and a black screen. With AMD, if you try to use a CPU older than sometime in 2011, it will not work. Okay, so I'm just throwing that out there so that you know. So I'll go ahead and close the registry editor, and I'll go ahead and close this. Now we can kind of run through this like we normally would. So we just do next, next, install Windows 11. I agree that everything will be deleted. This is only for fresh installs. Okay, I don't know how to use Microsoft only tools to do upgrades in place. Okay, I only know how to use Microsoft tools to do fresh installs. So I'll do next. At this point, I don't have a product key. Okay, I'm going to go with Windows 11 Pro, and people ask, why don't you ever choose Home in these videos? Windows 11 Pro actually has group policies that will allow you to bypass certain annoying things with Windows 11 easily using the group policy editor. So that's why I go with Pro. So I'm going to go next. I'm going to accept the license agreement. And then it looks like that I have used this hard drive with my Atmos Ninja recording device. So I'm just going to delete this partition on disk 0. Make sure not to delete anything on disk 1 because that is your installation media. And you don't want to delete it in case you need it again. So once you get disk 0 totally unallocated, you can do next and install. I am hooked to the internet, okay? This method I'm showing you does not require you to disconnect from the internet in any way. The older methods did, but we've gotten past that. As of July the 15th, 2025, Microsoft could do away with any of these bypasses at any time, but for now they work, and we shall sally forth. Keep in mind that this is an SSD, a SATA 3 SSD, which means it's 6 gigabits a second. So this will not install as fast as if you were doing it on a good NVMe drive. And you don't get full NVMe speeds when you install, even if you have an NVMe enclosure going over USB 3, but it would be faster than 6 gigabits per second most of the time. Okay? The PC will restart in a few moments. Sweet. So I'm going to unplug my installation media, as I don't really remember how this motherboard handles it. I think it's smart enough to set the Windows Boot Manager as device number 1, but why not eliminate the issue? Look at that. Booting off of the SSD. I just really hate wasting time because of a stupid on flash drive. I should learn by now that there's always a possibility that your installation media has gone bad. Uh-oh. The screen just went gray. Oh, it's just rebooting. Office Space is my favorite movie, so every time I see Just a Moment during the Windows install, I think Corporate Accounts Payable Nina speaking. Just a moment. Man, you can tell this machine really doesn't meet the requirements. That animation is slow. Alright, we're not going to go through any of this foolishness here. So we'll do Shift F10 again. Okay, this time you definitely need to make sure you click on it so that the window has focus. And this is the latest and greatest way to skip all this out-of-box experience where you have to sign in with a Microsoft account and answer 1,000 questions. So to do this, we're just going to type Start, space. And then if you ever have trouble remembering what this is, you do MS hyphen, and then it's cloud, so a C, an X for experience, an H for host, colon, local only. And when you see this thing pop up, this is what you want to see. So I'm going to put Trav, and we're going to leave a password off so that we don't have to answer any stupid password reminders. And then we'll set a password once we get through this part. So now I'll just do next. And it's basically made us a Trav user. It's going to log us straight into it. We only have to answer a couple questions about privacy. So it's really, really fast compared to having to sign in with a Microsoft account. A lot of people don't want to do that anyway. And I can see from the SSD indicator on the case, it's up at the top there, that it is flashing and writing its brains out. Okay, so I don't want it to know my location. We're just going to turn off all this stuff. Microsoft will ignore it anyway when you do a big update. But at least we can say we tried. Now the clock was way off going back to 2009 in the BIOS. So let's see if it set it, through the power of the internet. But I am going to change my time zone. Wow, this is slow. But I think maybe once it settles down that it won't be so bad. So let's change this to Eastern Time. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and set a password. So we'll do Control-Delete, and I don't think OBS will... Yes, OBS does pick this up. So change a password. And I don't have an old password, so I'll leave it blank. And we're going to set a super secure password. No stupid password hints. Yay. Alright. So now everybody always wants to see what version of Windows 11 we just installed. So I'll right click and go to System. Okay, so it looks like this is version 24H2 with the experience pack up to whatever this number is. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to show you, because everybody always asks, is Windows updates. So I'll just go to my little search and type Windows Update. I'm pretty sure this slowness is probably with indexing of the files on this machine. I don't know that for sure, but you know, that's the way it's acting anyway. It may be doing Windows updates already, and those are going to be a heck of a lot slower on an SSD than an NVMe. Oh, okay, there it came. Took a while. Check for updates. That may be what it's doing already. Nope. So we'll check for updates. And you'll see that it doesn't throw up an error that says we cannot install updates or any of that. It's actually going to show us a list and start downloading updates. That's about all I was going to show you in this video. We talked about the bypasses of all of the installation checks, and then we managed to get into Windows without going through the out-of-box experience and having to sign in with a Microsoft account using the Microsoft Cloud Experience Host bypass. If you like this video, you may want to check out some of my other videos on how to install Windows 11 on unsupported hardware. The one that seems most helpful to a lot of people is using DISM. I'm going to leave a link to that video right now. It is not for the faint of heart. There's a lot more command line stuff, but it will allow you to bypass a lot of things where it's the only thing that seems to work. And then you can use this new trick with the Microsoft Cloud Experience Host rather than what I show in the DISM video. But you may want to check that out if you're interested how you can install Windows very, very manually and get past the requirements. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.